Welcome to the November edition of the Lee Schools TV podcast. I'm Rob Spicker, Director of Communications and your host for our conversation. Today we're going to focus on the safety of students who ride the bus. New cameras have been installed on every single one of the buses that we operate that take our students to and from school, and we're going to be using those to capture anybody who illegally passes a bus, putting students at risk. If you get caught, it's a $225 fine. So joining us today for our conversation is Donny Wolfe. He's the Vice President of Government Relations for BusPatrol, one of our partners in this effort. Thank you for joining us. And first, I just want to ask about BusPatrol and your company. What is it? What is it exactly that you do?
Rob, thanks so much for having me. Always a pleasure to see you. We're so proud to be partnered with Lee County Schools in this endeavor, in this initiative. What we do, what BusPatrol does, and this started back when the company was founded, is we realized that there was a national crisis of dangerous driving behavior around school buses, plain and simple. And the reason why it was dangerous and remains dangerous today, with calculated legal school bus passings on the rise year after year, is because it's unconscionable for us to expect local law enforcement to follow every bus. So what do you have then in practice is you have drivers that either don't know the law fully or are making executive decisions to break the law, God forbid, or actually are distracted. And there's no consequences for it, right? We've seen human behavior change when they, especially in the automated enforcement industry, when they get hit in the pocket. And so hence the $225 fine. But our mission at BusPatrol is to make the ride to and from school safer for every single child. Mm-hmm. And we're so proud to be doing that.
Yeah, you mentioned how there's the statistic on the rise. I mean, the Florida Department of Education does a survey every year. We had nearly 700 buses passed illegally in one day in the spring. It was more than 900 a year ago, more than 800 the two previous years. So this is happening all the time. From what you guys do, what do you think is going on? What's causing all of this?
And to talk about that survey, first of all, we're so appreciative of Florida's DOE working with Florida Highway Safety Motor Vehicles to conduct these surveys. But the surveys are done by asking bus drivers to manually count while they're also driving and doing their day job of ensuring that the kids get to and from school safely. So what does that come out to be? It's underreported statistics, right? And with our program, when we're using artificial intelligence technology, camera technology to work with sheriff's offices, we see real count. So those numbers, as horrifying as they are underreported. And again, it really goes back to distracted driving, drivers that are not educated on the law. And what we do, we work with law enforcement to help them enforce the law. We work with the school districts not only to access the buses and provide the technology, but then really the essence of getting community buy-in and maintaining community buy-in is making sure everyone knows about this program so that driver behavior changes when they see a school bus.
So we've got the cameras on just about every bus. When enforcement starts in a month or so from now. How does it work? What's the process?
Here's the process. Our AI technology, it's the most advanced technology that we have in the industry, and it's been running now for close to 9 or 10 years. If you know anything about AI, you know that AI gets smarter and improves the longer that it's in use. So our AI engine, her name is Ava, because the AI engines are named. She's now over 30% more effective at capturing violations than the human eye. So she connected to our camera technology, which is connected to the telemetry of the bus, knows when the amber lights begin to flash, then knows when the amber lights transition to red, and the stop arm then comes out. Those technical violations of the law are first captured by Ava. She's able to capture these violations also using license plate reading technology up to 8 lanes of traffic away.
Wow.
And she knows the difference between parked cars, moving cars. She could be programmed for specific enforcement policies from one community to the next, making her unique. And then those violations that are captured by Ava are then reviewed and quality assured by 2 separate human reviewers within BusPatrol. Once those human reviewers then check off and mark that these technical violations not only follow state law, but are in line with the local law enforcement's policy of enforcement on this law, they're then sent in an evidence package via our web-based platform, Alert Bus, to the sheriff's office for them to review every single violation. And this is really the beauty of the program and why the integrity of this program is so strong. The law requires a sworn law enforcement officer to review every single evidence package. And only that sworn officer can determine whether a violation should be sent to a registered owner or whether they're going to dismiss that violation. Just as if that officer was standing at that school bus stop watching these violations with his or her own eye. So we serve as law enforcement's cameraman, per se. We serve as a custodian of evidence, and then we also serve as their administrator and their clerk. So any violations that are approved, we then mail those violations to the registered owner.
So we're in a warning advisory period right now for the next 30 days. What should our community expect to see happen? I know that the public service, but also in terms of getting a warning.
Well, nothing is going to change with the bus drivers doing their job and the buses taking kids to and from school. The change now is there are cameras on these buses to capture violations of the law. And during the warning period, while we're doing our part, working with your team, Rob, working with the sheriff's communications team as well, working with local elected officials, we're trying to get the word out. So we're getting the word out. We're re-educating the public on the law. We want everyone to know about the law. And then for those registered owners or drivers that violate the law, and that violation is then sent to the sheriff's office and they approve of that violation, we're issuing warnings to those drivers during this 30-day warning period. The whole goal is education during these 30 days.
So after the 30 days, we start to issue the citations. They're $225. You kind of described how that's going to work through your review, the sheriff's office, the ticket going out in the mail. But I know somebody's going to ask, can I appeal? Like if it wasn't me, somebody else, what's the process?
Absolutely. We encourage anyone to appeal their violation should they want their day in court or should that they believe that they may have been wrongfully cited. That's going back to the integrity of the program. That's an essential piece, that due process piece. So the law affords every registered owner who receives a violation 60 days to do one of three things: pay the civil penalty, which is $225 in Florida, to contest the violation and request a hearing date, where we then receive that contestation request. We work with the school district and the hearing officers to schedule that hearing as quickly as possible. We provide at least 30 days notice to the registered owner of their virtual hearing date. So another beautiful piece and a really convenient part of this program is no one has to get in their car to take significant time away from work to attend a 10-minute hearing in person. These 10-minute hearings can be done virtually, and we encourage that. Or the third piece would be to transfer liability. Oftentimes, since this program and automated enforcement programs rely on identifying the registered owner of the vehicle, oftentimes the registered owner of the vehicle wasn't the one driving. So there's a detailed process in the law on how to transfer liability, and our call centers are equipped with dozens of folks who are experts, able to walk anyone through any of those steps should they want to call.
I know certainly those people who end up with a citation come December, January, February, they're going to ask, where's my money going? How does that $225 get spent?
Yeah, the legislature was really intentional with how this money was going to be spent and narrowing that scope. Every single penny of paid violations goes back to the school district and only the school district. And then the district has, again, a limited scope on how they spend that. They can spend it on transportation safety initiatives within the school. They can spend it on reimbursing the hardware and software and subscriptions or partners such as BusPatrol on the services that we provide. And then last, which was really a magnificent change by the state legislature the year before last, is they expanded the ability to spend this money on bus driver retention initiatives. So what we learned in speaking to transportation directors, superintendents across the state was there was a shortage in bus drivers. And the shortage is created because these bus drivers are poached by the private sector, by companies such as Amazon, UPS, not naming them as the bad guys. They simply want certified drivers with experience, and they're willing to pay a lot more. So now the money that is generated from only drivers that break the law and pay their violations can now be spent to retain these bus drivers or even incentivize bus drivers to want to come and work for the public school systems.
Good news for us then.
Great news.
Yeah. There's always confusion about what the law is. So you walk through Florida's law in terms of when you have to stop behind a bus with the arm out and the lights flashing.
Yeah, I want to start with something that was echoed today by the superintendent and Sheriff Marcino is when you see the bus stop, it's okay to err on the side of caution. We have this driving habit of wanting to beat the red, whether it be a intersection or even school buses, whatever it may be. It's okay to err on the side of caution. But there are instances where you can pass the school bus when it is stopped with the red lights flashing or the stop arm extended. If you're driving on the opposite side of a multi-lane highway or roadway, traveling opposite direction of the bus, and there is a divided highway or a raised median or grass median wider than 5 feet, you can proceed with caution and pass the bus. All other times, you must stop. And so, I appreciate, I enjoy having conversations with community members all across our great state here to talk to them about the law and what the legislative intent was with the law. And so often what comes up and what's concluded is we just want drivers to pay attention to the bus, to see it coming. It's a 3-ton plus vehicle carrying our most precious asset that's painted in bright mustard yellow, designed to be seen, that flashes yellow lights before red lights. So, in hope and what we see in our programs across the country, even outside of Florida, is the driver behavior actually changes, right? Folks start paying attention. They see the yellow bus. They see the stoplights. They even get to know where the bus stops are in their community. That's what this is all about.
And you do see, you're nationwide, you've mentioned this, but a real change in behavior from those that get cited. They don't do it again.
Oh, they don't. We see over a 90% really kind of compliance rate, as I'm going to allude to what Sheriff Marcino was saying. Over 90% or more violators who receive a violation in the bus patrol program never receive another one again. I mean, that in itself is proof that the program works. And my mission, my goal, our goal at Bus Patrol is to get violations as close to zero as possible. We know we're not a silver bullet, and we probably won't get to zero, but let's work to significantly reduce the probability of any of these passings occurring, which then lead to accidents and, God forbid, horrific tragedies that rip families apart.
What do you hear from the school districts and the communities that you're already in?
They love it. School districts are able to partner with a safety technology program like ours. It's very sophisticated. They have the full support of law enforcement, who's really doing a lot of the legwork here in reviewing the evidence and taking the time to really call those balls and strikes, as we say. And then the beautiful thing about with these school districts, it's zero cost. So I repeat, zero cost, nothing budgeted on their end, and the only the folks that are paying for this program are the ones that break the law. So if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're not spending a penny on this program. And then, of course, because the civil penalty in its entirety goes back to the school district, it's not distributed to any other municipalities in the community.
What's the real motivation for you, for Bus Patrol, to be out there doing this?
I'm just mission driven, Rob. My whole career has been in the public sector. I laugh that I have a lot of good friends that began working in the private sector right out of college, right out of grad school, while I was working for elected officials, for our public health system. It's in my DNA to make our community a better place. And when I was finally introduced to Bus Patrol, it made so much sense to be able to work with a company and with a team that is just are super producers and highly dedicated to changing driver behavior and prevent these types of tragedies. So it's in my bones, right? And if you talk to anyone from Bus Patrol, they feel the same way.
And ultimately, the goal is to change behavior.
That's
make the roads safer, keep the kids safe.
That's it. We're going to see it. Mark my words, okay? I'd love to come back on this podcast 6 months from now or a year later, and we'll take a look at some of the percentages and how much they've dropped. 10, 20, 40, 50% reduction in violations year after year. I'm really curious to see what kind of progress we can do in Lee County, and I'm hoping that we can break those drop records.
Same here. Looking forward to it. Donny, thanks for joining us today. Tell us all about Bus Patrol and get us ready for the enforcement period that's coming in about 30 days from now. Appreciate all your enforcement and your expertise on this, and thank you everybody for watching as well. We're back next month with another edition of the Lee Schools TV Podcast.